Welcome to another edition of Travs Talk. I'm Stephen Davis. I'm your host. We are joined this week by a Travelers legend, Jim Riggleman, former big league manager, but former Travs player and manager is with us. Jim, how are you? Thanks for taking some time to join us.
I'm very good. Thank you. It's great to be on here with you. Always like to talk a little Travelers baseball.
You are, as we mentioned, a legend in the Travs annals. Parts of 5 seasons playing for the Travs, parts of 4 seasons managing for the Travs. Before we get into that, though, it's 2020. What are you up to these days? What are you doing right now?
Well, I'm just home down here. You know, I'm not currently working in baseball. I'm just down here in Florida with family and friends, 2 granddaughters now, so I'm enjoying that. And, you know, just kind of making the adjustment to my first year since 1974 of not being involved in professional baseball.
That's pretty amazing. All right, let's go through 9 innings here, 9 hard-hitting questions for you. You just led us into the first one. First year since 1974, you haven't been in pro baseball. Obviously, things are all jumbled in life right now anyway with the pandemic, but how strange is it not being at a ball field for you?
Well, it's strange, but it's, you know, I didn't know how I'd be affected by it. To this point, I'm good with it. You know, I guess if I had a job in front of me, I certainly would consider it, but that wasn't the case. So I'm fine with it. You know, a lot of my peers in the game, people in my age range, people that I maybe played with years ago and coached and managed with and against through the years are currently out of the game themselves. So, you know, I communicate with a lot of those guys, still keep in touch with some of the people in the game. So, you know, I'm really not that far from it.
All right, let's go back to your time with the Travs. You mentioned 5 years playing, 4 years managing. You had to pull one memory from your time with the Arkansas Travelers. What's your best memory from it?
That's a tough one because it's so many great memories. You know, I think I would say the 1980 season in general, specifically 1980, winning the championship versus San Antonio, a great ball club they had out there with Fernando Valenzuela and some really good players, and we won the championship that year. That night, winning the 1980 championship was probably my favorite moment.
All right, so you guys win the championship in 1980. Your personal season playing in 1980 might be the best in Travs history, or it's at least in the top 5. You had a 2020 season, more than 20 homers, more than 20 stolen bases. You're the only guy in Travs history to ever have a 2020 season. What got into you that year? What happened in 1980 for you personally at the plate offensively?
I didn't know that. I can't believe somebody else hadn't done that. Those numbers don't seem that high. And, you know, with 1 or 2 more stolen bases, I had 30. I guess if I knew I was had that chance. But, you know, I think I was a veteran player at that time, had been around a lot, had played in AAA for a couple years. And AA pitching is very tough to hit. But, you know, things just came together. Our lineup was very strong, and I named some of those guys as we move along. But our lineup was very strong. I always had somebody on base for you. I had somebody hitting behind you that could protect you. And so I just got a lot of opportunities to hit. And, you know, I was in the middle of a very good lineup. It was just everything was kind of lined up for success for me that year.
There's a couple guys who have come really close to 2020 seasons, either a stolen base or 2 short or a home run or 2 short, but you got it pulled off. Who were some of those guys? Throw out some of the names from that 1980 team.
Well, I can kind of go around. I still keep in touch with some of them. I go around that field position-wise. Freddie Tisdale at first, Frank Hunsaker catching, Kelly Paris at short, Peachy Gutierrez at second. I played third. We had Gene Dotson, Dave Piniol, Mike Dimmel, Felipe Zayas. You know, really, really good players. Nelson Garcia was a guy who played off and on. Jorge Aranzamende played off and on as utility guys, and just really a powerhouse team. You know, pitching, John Stuper, Andy Rincon, Jose De Leon, Ryan Kurosaki, Wild Bill Thomas, just numerous really quality guys on that ball club that led us to that championship. And Wonderful guys, most fun I ever had in the game. I'm having fun is for me is kind of like looking back on it, going, that was fun. As we were going through it, we were enjoying it, but we were grinding it out in a tough travel league there in the Texas League, trying to win a championship, and we did it.
Great stuff. Great stuff about that 1980 team. All right, Jim, moving on. Let's go to the fourth inning here. You don't spend 9 years in Little Rock without learning a lot about Ray Winder Field. You spent as much time there as anybody, I think. What was your favorite and least favorite thing about the old ballpark?
Well, I think the favorite thing was, when I signed to get into professional baseball, I initially went into the Eastern League, and there was a lot of municipal type parks. Uh, I I got traded to the Cardinals and went to the Texas League in Little Rock, and now we were playing in stadiums, old stadiums that had great charm throughout the league. It was more what I thought minor league baseball was going to be about. So just I think the whole setting of the ballpark, the fans, the attendance was great. The excitement at the ballpark. Bill Valentine always had something going on there. It was just really a neat atmosphere to go to and go to work every day to play a ball game. Least favorite, nothing really comes to mind other than maybe the legendary slope down in the right field that we played in. The right fielder you could barely see from the dugout because he was to throw the ball home. He was kind of going uphill almost. It was a tough place for a right-handed hitter. It was a tough place to hit home run. Left field was very deep. Right field was short. And so that didn't come into play for me real well sometimes. But, 99.9% of my memories of the field are just tremendous.
That's awesome. I've heard folks that have played and managed there talk about the size of the clubhouse, the size of the dugout. You didn't mind the size of them or lack thereof?
Well, the clubhouse was tiny. The floors were pretty much concrete, so you're walking around with your spikes on concrete. The shower and bathroom facilities were minute. The manager's office was tiny. But again, that added to the charm of it. We had one little division in the room that somebody started calling it the JV room for guys who were first-year players in the league. And, I think it just added to the charm, you had Captain Dynamite coming in, and you had, the Clown Prince of Baseball there routinely. It was just a great atmosphere for minor league baseball.
How was the move for you from being a player to a manager, playing for so long with the Travs and then managing for so long, to make that move into that small manager's office and get to see things from a different perspective?
Well, it was fine. It's just the way things were. Small offices or an office at all, you might not have an office. It's just the way things were done. You just adjusted to it. I love that clubhouse. I love that little office. I could pop into Bill Valentine's office now and then, and it was just the way it was. Nobody else, the other teams didn't have better facilities. It was just the norm. Fortunately, you've now moved into a great stadium in North Little Rock, and that's the kind of what the standard is now. But the adjustment was easy. I had familiarity with fans, familiarity with the bus driver. Buster Hoggard was our bus driver, and Bill Valentine. That's the people I dealt with routinely, and everything went smooth.
Oh, great stuff. Fifth inning. When's your last time that you were in Little Rock?
My last time I was the field coordinator for the Cardinals, and the Cardinals were finishing their season in Little Rock versus, the Cardinals were in Springfield and finishing their season in Little Rock. And the field was dedicated. A lot of players were in there. I believe that was in 06. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 07 was the first year of the new stadium.
Okay, 06, I was in there in late August, early September for a series. And a lot of players from the past years showed up for that dedication to Ray Winder, to kind of have a send-off for Ray Winder Field. And I remember, Ryan Kurosaki and other local guys who could get in there were there. So that was my last time in there, 06.
All right, we got to make you a deal then. We got to get you back for a ball game next season. How does that sound?
Yeah, no question. I'll definitely do that. I shouldn't say I've been back to Little Rock since, but '06 was my last time to a baseball related activity.
Okay, well, if you're not in baseball next season, handshake deal over the video phone right now. You're coming to a ball game next year, and I know Russ Meeks will have you sitting next to him down in the stands. How's that sound?
Well, absolutely. I talk to Russ quite often. I talked to Rusty Meeks the other day, and Brenda. Just some of my favorite people I've ever met in my life. That Russ was a big part of why my time in Little Rock was so enjoyable. When I met Russ there first in the early '80s.
He's one of the great people going. All right. So a lot of time in your career spent with the Travs, but a lot of time not spent with the Travs. I want to touch on some of that here as we move on to the sixth inning. I think a lot of us watched the documentary on the 1998 home run chase between Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa about a month ago when it came out. You were intimately involved. You were managing that Cubs team that summer. How stressful was that, managing that team that summer? Because you guys were in the thick of a playoff race and a home run race. Oh, what was the stress level for you?
You know what? I never felt stress managing a game. I hooking up to this Zoom call is stress for me. It's technology. Uh, I'm not expert in that. And I'm not expert in managing a game, but I feel confident in managing a ball game. So, 162 game schedule, going down to 163rd game, everything that was going on with Sammy, I was managing a ball game. That's the thing I feel most confident doing. So I didn't feel stress. Now, there's a grind to it. And as I spoke to great friends of mine, Jim Leland, Jim Fregosi, as they were managing, and you talk to them when in the years that they were winning and going to playoffs, you ask them, how's it going? And they say, hey, man, it's a grind. And that's a great word for it. Whoever can come out of the other end on top with this grind that you go through in this long schedule and the ups and downs that take place, that's who the winners are going to be. But I just, I enjoyed the grind. I embraced it. The things that were going on with Sammy were a real plus for us. He was helping us win ball games, but so much attention was on him and Mark McGwire that the rest of our ball club could kind of go about their business, get ready to go play a ball game. Sammy was a guy who really enjoyed that attention. So it made it a very smooth move into the ball game after the pregame stuff that was going on.
It looked like a lot of fun. I would think, though, it was something where even, as hectic as it was for you, did you just get to sit back and smile once in a while and go, wow, this is pretty much once in a lifetime stuff we're watching in person every night this summer?
Yeah, it was special. As we were going through it, with what he and Kerry Wood were doing, one rookie, one veteran player doing what they were doing, you couldn't help but every now and then say, hey, you know what, we might be watching history here. And then, you settle back and go, okay, we got a ball game we got to try to win. But as you look back on it, just like I look back on my time in Little Rock, especially 1980, I look back on it and go, man, that was fun. But when you're going through it, that's not really the word that comes up. It's not ha-ha, pie in the face, bucket of water on your head type fun. It's the grind that you're embracing every day and how impactful it is on you that you really enjoy. And then later you can look back and say, man, that was fun. I can look back on those times, though, and know as I went through them, I knew they were special times.
Good stuff. Hey, you guys played McGwire and the Cardinals a lot coming down the stretch, it seemed like, that season. You're trying to compete for a playoff spot and win games. How tempting was it to just, hold up the four fingers and intentionally walk him every time he came up?
Well, the thing about it is, if it's what we needed to do, I'm sure we did that at times if the open base was there. But, they had a good lineup. They had a guy there that I had managed in the minor leagues, Ray Langford, who sometimes Ray hit behind him. Sometimes it would be a Brian Jordan. These were really quality players that if you put somebody on, you may be doing more damage than what you're solving. But when the matchup was not good for us, when we didn't have a strikeout type pitcher out there, and we thought Mark is going to do some serious damage here, we were very careful with him.
Give him the four fingers. I love it. All right, seventh inning. Let's move on. Your catcher on that Cubs team that year, and for most of your time with the Cubbies, was Scott Service. He's now the manager of the Mariners, who is now the Travelers parent club, and his
Yeah.
2020 team is going to be populated with a ton of guys that we had over the last season or two in Little Rock. How closely do you follow the Mariners specifically, but just in general, guys that you managed who have gone on into the same profession now, into coaching and managing? How closely do you follow their careers and their teams, and specifically the Mariners, who have a lot of our guys?
Well, I do follow them, and in a lot of cases, it's guys that I coached. As far as managing players that they went on to manage, Scott is at the top of the list there, and um, he's doing a great job. The Mariners organization's doing things the right way, and I know they got a great relationship there with the Travelers. I do follow their progress. They're one of their coaches, Manny Acta, a good friend of mine. So I enjoy following what they're doing there. I follow a lot of teams. I'm kind of a baseball rat. I follow what's going on in a lot of places, but but I have to say this. If I could take a step backwards, you mentioned a catcher. Scott was a great catcher, really a great game caller, really made progress as a hitter. I want to take one step backwards, though, and say this about our 1980 catcher. Some of your fans may remember Frank Hunsaker. Frank Hunsaker was a big man. He was a catcher, and I just want to give him some kudos. He was the best right-handed hitter that I ever played with, and it's such a shame he didn't play in the big leagues. Frank was a good catcher, could throw, best right-handed hitter that I ever had the pleasure of playing with. So I just wanted to throw that out there about a teammate.
Awesome. Love it. All right, 8th inning. Interesting question here for you to get your big picture perspective on this with all your time in the game. How much has baseball changed in your eyes, especially even in the last decade, with the advent of analytics and shifts and launch angle and spin rates and all these new terms we hear?
Well, I think it's definitely changed. I think we all are guilty of us older people to say, "Oh boy, it's really changed. It was better back in the day." They probably said that in the '60s. The guys in the '40s who played probably didn't like the way it was played in the '60s. The guys in the '80s didn't like the way it went into 2000. And so we all have a tendency to look back and say it's not as good as it used to be. Has it changed? Definitely it's changing. It's evolving. I think the game is getting younger in terms of upper management, general managers, presidents of teams, analytics. A lot of these analytics guys that are hired are younger guys. A lot of them did not play professionally. Some didn't play in college, but they've got a lot of information there that has to be considered. It has to be looked at, analyzed, the word analytics. So in that aspect, it has definitely changed. The thing that I think you can't get misled on is that it's still eyes and ears, it's still instincts. Scouts are the backbone of the game. A great football coach, Nick Saban, he wins down there in Alabama. He wins because he's got recruiters who sign up the best talent in the South to come and play at Alabama. Scouts who sign the best players will eventually put the best teams on the field. So I think the analytics is great information. It's very useful, but I think it's got to be intertwined with the old school value of people being in the ballpark, getting information, using their instincts, making judgments, making their projections, and listening to those great baseball people who have been the backbone of the game. I was in player development. I love player development, but there's nothing as important as scouting.
Great. That's a perfect answer, Jim. I love it. Your perspective is somewhat unmatched on that right now with your major league experience as well as your player development experience. Okay, 9th inning. We're going to wrap things up. I love to ask this question to pitchers, catchers, but especially managers. I need a good mound visit story. From some point in your managerial career, a mound visit story where something unusual happened, something funny, something when you went out there to the mound and you look back on it, you can't help but chuckle a little bit.
Some of those are negative, some of those are, my mound visits would get a little heated because of a decision I was making or some reaction that a pitcher had to something that I said or whatever. So But, as far as something funny, like I said, that was secondary to me. Having fun, that's for Little League. My fun took place after the game and visiting with coaches and stuff like that. Funny stuff on the mound. Um, I think probably something uh, as trite as Rod Beck being on the mound, coming and taking him out of a ball game, and which generally was going to be a major
Yeah.
confrontation. He didn't like coming out of a game, but he was having a particularly bad day and gave up the lead. And when I took him out, he basically said, "What took you so long?" So that would be the closest thing to anything slightly humorous.
Not
Because
funny in the moment, but funny maybe when you look back on it. Yeah.
yes, exactly. Because my persona with the players was always serious. Maybe not to the level that Tony La Russa was. When you look, Tony La Russa's won as many ball games or more than anybody in the game except McGraw, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And you would be hard pressed to find a ball game where the dugout painted Tony La Russa and he was smiling. That was his style, and I like that. That doesn't mean Tony's a great guy. He's a fun guy, but he's working for Mr. DeWitt. He's working for whoever the ownership of the club is. This is business. I'm out here trying to win a ball game. Having fun is secondary here.
I think a lot of folks, especially us, we're sitting upstairs watching a game, talking about it, having a laugh on the air. Folks down in the stands are enjoying their time. I think a lot of people forget that for you guys, the managers, the coaches, the players, this is serious business day in and day out. And you used the word grind earlier. It is kind of tough to enjoy yourself in the moment when it is so serious. It's your livelihood out there.
It is, and you know what? We're so fortunate to be in this business. You used the word stress earlier, asking about it. Some people say pressure, and you got to step back now and then and realize, are you kidding me? Pressure? I'm managing a ball game. Pressure is like Lee Trevino said, playing putting a $20 putt, and I only got $10 in my pocket. To me, that family of man and woman raising 4 kids, trying to meet the bills every month, that's pressure, that's stress. What we do in baseball, that is not a drop in the bucket compared to what people go through. So I think we're just all very fortunate to be in the game.
Jim, we appreciate the time. Great perspective on baseball in general, and especially Travs history. Can we hold you to next season? If you're not working somewhere, you'll come to a ball game at Dickey Stevens Park.
Absolutely. Maybe, anything that Russ Meeks ever asked me to do, believe me, I'd do it.
All right. We'll hold you to it then. Jim Riggleman, thanks so much.
Thank you.
It's Travs Talk for this week. We'll be back with another edition next week.